Welcome back to the Rainforest, and today we are heading out to do some landscape photography. Now, in one of my previous videos I talked about the excursion to go climb a mountain in Ireland, and one of the things that I really love to do and have found recently that I enjoy more and more is getting out to shoot landscape pictures. And it's because mainly my style of photography has transitioned over the last few years. You know, originally I loved to get those massive frame-filling portraits, but now putting animals in their environment is something that appeals to me far more. And as I do that, of course, learning to shoot landscape pictures is a great way of not only developing what I'm shooting, but also training my skills for camera trapping and things like that. So today what I'm looking to do is get out and shoot some nice pictures from the trails as well as some of the little rivers to have the additional kind of landscape shots in my portfolio of the project that I'm working on whilst I'm out here in the rainforest. But cool, it is pretty warm today and I've got a long way to go before I get to the spot where I hopefully will be able to not only shoot some nice landscapes but also check on one of my camera traps. Now, whilst I'm walking through the jungle, I am of course also keeping my eyes out for any wildlife, and that's why I've got the 70-200 kitted up over my shoulder. I really love the 70-200 as a good mid-range for creating more environmental shots of wildlife. It's also really handy for landscape photography because it helps you to pick out details, and because it has less distortion, it's fantastic if you want to do a panoramic or anything like that. So this is kitted up and ready to go, just in case I see anything on the way. And of course I've got my binoculars around my neck just to enjoy the experience. So whilst I'm walking down the trails, I'm looking for areas that kind of scream jungle a little bit to me. The leaves overhead that are illuminated by the sun look really nice, so I've been shooting a couple of detailed pictures over my head to get some interesting shots. But I'm also looking for areas where the tracks lead down and you have nice leading lines, hopefully with some large buttress roots or something like that, that really give you the impression of the environment I'm in. After that I'm going to be moving down to one of the river sections where I know there's some really nice landscapes, might even be possibly some footprints around that could act as some really nice foreground interest. So I've got up to the main area where I wanted to work today, and it's this really beautiful river. And all I'm going to do is slowly move down. I'm just looking for compositions with a couple of rocks in the foreground with off and the jungle in the background with the river kind of leading you through. So all I'm going to do is make my way up the river and look for a nice foreground. And then my camera trap is just up behind here. So after I've done a bit of work and finished and got a few images I like, I'm going to move on, check that before I head back to camp. I don't have too long before I've got to be back at camp, but hopefully I can find a couple of compositions that are really quite nice. And again, just scouting out a location to come back in the future. The weather is pretty good today, so hopefully we get some nice light in about half an hour. But so far it's all looking good, and I think we might get a few nice pictures here. So the first shot I've lined up is a simple one of this large boulder that's in the river behind me. We've got some nice plants up over the kind of cliff face that leads down into the river. So I'm using f14, 6-second exposure, got the polarizer on to cut through some of the reflections of the water and to give a nice smooth kind of feel to that water. And then of course I'm using mirror up and my remote release to fire the shot, and let's see how it comes out. A nice one to get me started. I'm going to move up and see if I can get more of a jungly feel with some better background, and then the light's starting to fade, so in a bit I'm going to have to head back. But I think this location could be a really good one to come back to early morning one day. So I think this might be a good place to explore. But as my camera trap is set just behind me for jaguar, I do have to be quite careful because I know they hunt along this part. So I've got my eyes open whilst I'm bent down taking landscape pictures. But I'm going to get a few more before I head back. But I will check the trap before I leave because, you know, you just never know if there's something awesome waiting for you. For the last half hour, I've been making my way up and down the river. I shot a few kind of detail shots at the rapids and areas like that. I've seen some really cool like water hunting spiders as well, kind of running around. That's really cool. But I've come back to the original rock where I was working to start with because I really like the composition. I'm just going to kind of nail it in and try and get a really nice final shot of that. But also I'm losing light and it's starting to get quite dark. And further down the river it's really quite dark and enclosed, and that's exactly where jaguars might come out and prey on me. So I don't want to be stuck down there, and I want to get back towards the trail so I can check the camera trap before I head back. Tonight I'm going to go out and do some star photography as well. There's a lovely viewpoint that looks down over the kind of river basin that is outside the MLC, so hopefully we can get some really nice star pictures tonight. There's a bit of cloud around but not too much, so hopefully might come out as a nice time lapse or some nice individual star pictures. But I'm going to take a few more shots, check the camera trap, and then start heading back whilst I just wander up here to see if we've had any luck on the camera trap. Everything's still in position. Green flash, green flash. My two lights are flashing. That's great, it means they still work, that's all good. And over here is the camera itself. Just gonna bob down and what have we got? 82 triggers. That probably means that we've got loads of false triggers, but we will have a look anyway, just in case there is something really exciting. Right, where can I leave my machete? So just check the trap, and as I suspected, boatload of false triggers. Again, sunlight issue, I think, coming straight through and bouncing off. What I'm going to do is actually set this to high on sensitivity, sorry, low on sensitivity, to make sure that it's only going off when large creatures come through. We did get 3 shots of an armadillo though, but sadly it's going the wrong way, so its face isn't in it. But again, the location looks like it's doing well. Just going to reset and make sure everything's there, and hopefully we'll get some pictures over the next few days. I just need to double check all my flashes are going to go off and leave it for another evening. Right, so just walked through the camera trap and everything went off, so that's all good. Now to just wander back and get back to camp because it's starting to get dark. So I'm going to stick my camera, everything else away, and then head back, make sure I've got my head torch out so I'm ready to go. But good day scouting some locations for landscapes, and tonight hopefully we'll get out and do some really nice star shots. So I'm on my way back to camp, and already you can probably see that is a lot darker than it was 5 minutes ago. It's amazing how the lights just go out when you're in the jungle, so having a head torch handy is really key. I actually always have 2 on me, just because if one goes out you want to be able to quickly get a light, and changing batteries in the pitch black it's pretty difficult, so it's much easier to just have a spare torch. What I actually have is the Petzl E-Light, really tiny little head torch, weighs about, I don't know, 40 grams or something, but I just throw it in my bag and have it with me the whole time because you never know when you're going to need it. And also, it just makes things so much easier if you're fumbling around in the dark. Oh, I think I might switch this on in a minute. I've been continuing with my landscape photography, been up early, standing at the viewpoint that I scouted the other day when I was photographing the TT monkeys, and I've been doing a mix of shots using my long exposure. I'm picking out some of the details and the cloud forms that are coming in over the mountains and the cloud forest that you can see in the distance, working with a 70 to 200 at 200mm with a 1.4 teleconverter to give me 280mm. And then I'm using both the little stopper from Lee Filters and the circular polarizer, just to cut down the light and to give me about a 10-second exposure. That means I can make all of the cloud as it comes in nice and misty across the rainforest. That's looking quite good. I've also been using my 300 2.8 on my D850, basically to give me a long reach, 450mm. I'm using that to pick out sections in the rainforest, just to pick out little details and trees as the light's coming up, just to make little kind of detailed shots within the landscape. Again, all looking to kind of build on that portfolio and have a nice set of images that show the rainforest environment. The last thing I'm going to do is, now that the light's pretty even across the landscape, is I'm going to shoot some panoramic shots. I'm probably going to use the 70-200, pull out to about 70mm, and then shoot about 8 frames across the landscape behind me to get the shot that I want. You know, just having that really large scale image is really good to show the kind of whole region and area that I'm in. So hopefully the light looks pretty good now. I'm going to get on with that and hopefully have some nice shots from this morning's session, and then I'm going to be back in the rainforest to shoot some details, some tree details, stuff like that, again to keep building that portfolio of different tree and landscape images from the rainforest.